Namaskar. A warm welcome to World News and Indian Perspective on All India Radio. This is Prashant Kumar Sinha, and with me is Vaibhav Jyotsna Srivastav, bringing glimpses of the major developments of the day from across the globe. Over the next half an hour, we shall bring you the latest from the world of politics, economy, sports, entertainment, and more. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviews preparedness of states and central agencies to tackle Cyclone Yas. Calls for timely evacuation of people from high-risk areas. Cyclone Yas likely to intensify into very severe cyclonic storm, expected to cross Odisha and West Bengal coasts on Wednesday. Armed forces commence preparations to mitigate impact of cyclone in Kolkata, Bhubaneswar and Port Blair. India, South Africa and 60 other countries moved 3-year intellectual property rights waiver for COVID-19 related medical products at WTO. Number of COVID patients discharged outnumbers new cases in India for the 10th consecutive day. In China, 21 people dead due to extreme weather conditions during 100-kilometer cross-country mountain race. And in Cricket, Asia Cup 2021 tournament postponed due to packed schedule. As the number of COVID cases is on the rise, we appeal to our listeners not to lower the guard, to follow all precautions, and all those who have taken the first dose of COVID-19 vaccine to get vaccinated with the second dose at the scheduled time. Stay safe and protected by following these 3 simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, and focus on hand and face hygiene. And now the news in detail. Prime Minister Narendra Modi has directed all concerned departments to ensure timely evacuation of those involved in offshore activities in view of Cyclone Yas, which is expected to cross West Bengal and North Odisha coasts on Wednesday evening. He also instructed officers to work in close coordination with states to ensure safe evacuation of people from high-risk areas. Mr. Modi took a high-level meeting on Sunday to review the preparedness of states and central ministries and agencies concerned to deal with the situation arising out of Cyclone Yas. He spoke about the need to ensure that time duration of outages of power supply and communication networks are minimum and are restored swiftly. The Prime Minister also asked officials to ensure proper coordination and planning with state departments and state governments to ensure no disruptions in COVID treatment and vaccination in hospitals. Mr. Modi directed officials that advisories and instructions on do's and don'ts during the cyclone be made available in easy, understandable local language to citizens of the affected districts. The Home Ministry is reviewing the situation 24/7 and is in touch with state governments and union territories and central agencies concerned. The NDRF has pre-positioned 46 teams which are equipped with boats, tree cutters, telecom equipment, etc. in 5 states and UT. The low-pressure area in the Bay of Bengal has concentrated into a depression today, lying centered at about 590 kilometers from east-southeast of Paradip in Odisha. It is likely to intensify into a severe cyclonic storm. As per the Indian Meteorological Department, it will further deepen into a very severe cyclonic storm during the subsequent 24 hours and is likely to cross North Odisha West Bengal coast between Paradip and the Sagar Islands on Wednesday. The strongest cyclone in the North Bay can have a speed of 120 to 160 kilometers per hour speeds. Meteorologists believe that the cyclone may cause more damage as it is much more widespread.
The armed forces have commenced preparations to mitigate the impact of Cyclone Yas, which is expected to hit the eastern coast on Wednesday. The Indian Air Force has airlifted 950 National Disaster Response Force NDRF personnel and 70 tons of load from Jamnagar, Varanasi, Patna and Arakonam to Kolkata, Bhubaneswar and Port Blair in 15 transport aircrafts. The Defence Ministry said 16 transport aircrafts and 26 helicopters are on standby for immediate deployment. The Indian Navy has moved 10 humanitarian assistance and disaster relief HADR pallets to Bhubaneswar and Kolkata, while 5 HADR pallets are ready at Port Blair. Bangladesh is bracing to face the cyclone Yas, which is likely to hit its coast on May the 26th. The State Minister for Disaster Management and Relief, Inamur Rahman, told media that the government is preparing cyclone shelter with 3 times more capacity in view of the COVID-19 situation in the country to accommodate people during the cyclone. This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
3 steps to stay protected and stay safe from COVID-19. Wear face mask, 2 gaz ki duri to maintain social distancing, maintain hand and face hygiene.
Welcome back. For the 10th consecutive day today, the number of COVID patients discharged has outnumbered the number of new cases in India. In the past 24 hours, over 3,55,000 COVID patients have recovered from the disease, whereas in the same time span, over 2,40,000 fresh cases were recorded nationwide. With this, the recovery rate in the country has further improved to 88.30%. The cumulative share of active COVID cases in the country also continues to witness consistent decline and comprises nearly 10.57% of the total reported cases. The Health Ministry has informed that currently over 28 lakh people are reported to be affected by the pandemic and are either hospitalized or are under home isolation. The ministry added that so far over 2 crore 34 lakh people have recovered from the COVID-19 infection in the country. The Health Ministry has informed that 3,741 COVID-related deaths were reported in the last 24 hours, taking the cumulative toll to 2,99,266. The Indian Council of Medical Research, ICMR, has said that over 32 crore 86 lakh COVID tests have been carried out in the country.
The cumulative number of COVID-19 vaccine doses administered in the country has crossed the 19 crore 50 lakh mark. The Union Health Ministry informed that around 1 crore beneficiaries in the age group of 18 to 44 years have so far been given the first dose of the vaccine. The ministry added that in the past 24 hours, the nation administered over 16 lakh doses of COVID vaccines to beneficiaries. So far, nearly 15 crore 20 lakh people in the country have received their first dose of COVID vaccine, whereas around 4 crore 30 lakh people have been completely vaccinated with both doses. India has said that the foreign COVID relief material received by New Delhi are being expeditiously delivered to the states and union territories to supplement their efforts towards COVID-19 management. The Health Ministry in a statement said that the Government of India has been receiving international cooperation of COVID-19 relief medical supplies and equipment since the 27th of April from different countries. The ministry said that so far 16,630 oxygen concentrators, 15,961 oxygen cylinders, 19 oxygen generation plants, 11,516 ventilators and BiPAP and 6.9 lakh remdesivir vials were delivered to the states. A dedicated coordination cell has been created in the Health Ministry to coordinate the receipt and allocation of foreign COVID relief material.
India, South Africa and 60 other countries have sought 3-year waiver on intellectual property rights for COVID-19 medical products at the World Trade Organization WTO. A fresh proposal submitted by these countries also has a provision to review the duration annually. The fresh proposal focuses on health products and technologies and sets the stage for discussions on specifics. The Council for Trade-related Aspects of Intellectual Property Rights is likely to take up the new proposal at an informal meeting on the 31st of May. Now we move on to our Hotspots section. In this segment, we bring you a discussion on India taking lead in seeking 3 years intellectual property rights waiver for COVID-related medical products at the WTO. In conversation with Ashok Sajjanhar, former diplomat, is journalist Manas Prothim Bhuyan.
As coronavirus pandemic continued to ravage countries across the world, there has been a renewed focus to ramp up manufacturing of COVID-19 vaccines. India has also been at the forefront calling for united global efforts for enhancing availability of the vaccines globally. In that context, India has taken a lead role in seeking 3 years of intellectual property rights waiver for COVID-19 related materials and products, mainly vaccines. So we have with us diplomat Sajjanhar. So how do you see this proposal by India along with South Africa to seek waiver on COVID-19 vaccines?
It's a very good move. Secondly, it is not related only to vaccines. It is the whole spectrum of treatment, prevention, containment of COVID-19. To go back in terms of its genesis, it started in October last year, October 2020. And that was the time when a joint proposal was given by India and South Africa to the World Trade Organization and particularly to the TRIPS Council, the trade-related aspects of intellectual property rights. They have a council where they discuss and determine the provisions of the TRIPS agreement. So there the proposal was given. There were some discussions that were held, but at that time it was thought that it was too broad and not very clear. But India and South Africa have been taking it forward, and this proposal, I think, got a shot in the arm when on the 5th of this month, President Joe Biden of the United States, he also weighed in terms of supporting this proposal. And on Friday, that is 2 days ago, this proposal has again been formally submitted at the WTO, in which, as I mentioned, it's not only related to vaccines, it is also diagnostics, it also includes drugs, it includes therapeutics, it includes personal protection kits, it includes masks, and all the other elements that are required for dealing with the COVID-19. Earlier, when the proposal had been given in October 2020, then these two countries, India and South Africa, had put in that this waiver was being sought from the WTO TRIPS Council for X number of years. Now they have made it more specific. They've said it should be for 3 years, and after every year, the TRIPS Council could go in to have a look at what is the seriousness of the COVID-19 pandemic, and if it is required, it can be extended. If it is not required, then the methodology of withdrawing that waiver could also be considered. So I think great clarity has been provided. Now, India and South Africa have said that they have the support of about 120 countries, but the co-sponsor of this proposal are about 62 other countries. Several of them significant countries in their own right, and also important groups. For instance, the Africa Group supported it, the LDC, the least developing country group, they have supported it. Indonesia is there, Zimbabwe is there, Egypt, Pakistan, and several other countries. Of course, this doesn't include the name of the United States, but United States has also been speaking to countries like Japan, like Switzerland. These countries should also extend support. And the European Union has said that they are willing to discuss the proposal.
What is your expectation about the proposal getting through at the WTO? And what is the likely timeline that you are looking at for WTO to take a concrete decision on the issue?
You know, that's a very difficult question to give an accurate answer to, because I have worked at the WTO for more than 5 years, and then I have been engaged with the working of the WTO for a long period of time. So many of these things, you know, as you would say, that dotting the I's and crossing the T's, all these things can take a long time. But I think the advantage that this proposal has is, the proponents of the proposal have, is that the United States is standing with them. And in the United States, I think that has really changed the whole scenario of this proposal. We have been able to get so many countries to come on board. That is principally because the United States has given its okay and given its support to this. And this could be fast-tracked. This could be taken forward very quickly. But I see one particular issue also as far as the United States is concerned, because the US has said that they are willing to provide a waiver only for vaccines, not for medicines, not for therapeutics, not for diagnostics, not for, you know, the PPE kits and the masks and other things. So that is one difference, that is one divergence that is there between India, South Africa and the United States. And the other aspect is in terms of the duration of the waiver. I think what the United States had mentioned is that the waiver could be for 16 to 18 months, while we are asking for a 36-month waiver. But I'm sure we have put in all these elements. Whenever a proposal is put up at the WTO, there is always a matter of give and take. You know, it's not that a submission is accepted in toto, in full. There is negotiation. So I'm sure there are several elements in this which we will negotiate, and the urgency at this moment is that we should be able to get it done very quickly. Because what India has said is it is not only the waiver of this vaccines and other things of the intellectual property rights, but it also has to do with the technology transfer, and there should also be know-how sharing, because just waiving the right to the intellectual property is not good enough. If the companies have to manufacture, then technology will have to be transferred, know-how will have to be transferred, manufacturing capacities will have to be built up, and production will have to start. So in that sense, we need decent enough time frame in which all these aspects can be looked at.
Mr. Sarjanha, at a virtual meeting with top European Union leaders on May 8, Prime Minister Narendra Modi himself called for European Union support to the proposal to waive patents on COVID-19 related products, particularly vaccines. So in that context, in fact, following the summit, the European leaders, they said that in fact licensing, price of licensing and investment for capacity building are also very, very important issues to boost production apart from the waiver of the patent on vaccines. So how do you see these issues?
I think these are very, very important, very significant, very relevant elements. And this is exactly what I had said, that it is not only the intellectual property right waiver, it's not only the IPR waiver. There has to be technology transfer, there has to be funding, there has to be investment, there has to be manufacturing capacity that has to be developed, because all that will take both time as well as money. So I think all sides will really have to work together. And in that context, the European Union is very right that some sort of a licensing framework will have to be evolved. But I think that's a matter of detail. We have to take it step by step. You would recall, last week, the USTR, Catherine Tai, the US Trade Representative, she had conversation both with the South African minister as well as with the Indian minister, Mr. Piyush Goyal. And they also had discussions about this in terms of how to navigate this proposal through the WTO. So I think all these countries will have to work together. All of them will have to come on the same page. As you said very correctly at the beginning of the program, that the WTO and all its agencies like the WTO TRIPS Council, all of them work on the basis of consensus. So each and everyone would have to be brought on board. And at the moment, I see that the most resistance or reluctance coming in from the side of the European Union. You would have seen that 2 days ago, we had the G20 Health Summit that was organized by the Prime Minister of Italy and the EU Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. And there also in the Rome Declaration, it has been mentioned that there should be voluntary licensing, there should be voluntary technology transfer, and that additional vaccine manufacture should be undertaken in consonance with the existing rules of the trade-related intellectual property rights agreement. So till the day before yesterday, we have not really seen any movement on the ground as far as the G20 and the European Union is concerned. But I understand that this proposal that has been tabled 2 days ago, that is on Friday, that is going to come up for discussion on the 30th. And then we should be able to get some clearer idea as to what is the time frame in which we could expect an approval and concurrence to this waiver.
India is looking at procuring more number of vaccines to address the domestic scenario in India. So how do you see the issue of US invoking the Defense Production Act in early February? So there's a view in India that the Defense Production Act of the US has put some roadblock in supply of raw materials by American companies to other countries, including India. And our External Affairs Minister is starting a visit to US tomorrow. So how do you see this issue actually? Do you think it is impacting supply of raw materials for production of vaccines to India from US?
That's a parallel issue, because this is the issue of reliability and transparency and resilience of supply chains. And here the Serum Institute of India, they have been wanting these raw materials and inputs from the United States. And we saw that on the 5th of February, President Joe Biden, he invoked the Defense Production Act. around the end of last month when the matter was taken up. Of course, the matter is being taken up with the United States at different levels for the last several months. But I think when the gravity of the situation in India became clear to the United States, then they have agreed to reconsider and to waive the provisions of that and to make the supply chain issue, remove that so that all the material that is required by India that are made available. You know, when India has asked for this waiver, it is not to manufacture vaccines only for its own use. It is for the use of the whole world. You know, this is the point that the Prime Minister has always made, that India's capacities will be used for not only Indian people, but for the whole world. Of course, India's requirements come first, and that is what we will take care of. But it is also very telling. The total number of vaccines that have been administered in the world, they are about 1.6 billion. You know, about 200 million by India, 300 million by US, 400 million by China, and so on and so forth. But the low-income countries, it is only about 0.3% that those countries have got the vaccination. We have to go by the dictum that no one is safe till everyone is safe. You know, you can't create walls around your countries, however developed and prosperous and rich the countries might be. You cannot create walls so that people from outside will not come. So if there is this pandemic raging in countries of Asia, in countries of Africa, or in South America, then the whole world is still at risk. So we have to make sure that about 70% of the world population, they will have to be vaccinated. So the point I'm making is that going forward, the world will need huge quantities of these vaccines. And it is for those purposes that India has put forward this proposal, because otherwise the low-income countries will not be able to get these vaccines, and the whole world will continue to stay at risk.
How do you see India's leadership role in pushing for this proposal at the WTO to waive patents on COVID-19 vaccines and other related products? So how do you see our efforts overall at the global stage?
I think it is very commendable. You know, we have been taking a leadership role wherever we possibly can. And right from the beginning, you know, by the first proposal that was given by India to the WTO was in October last year. By then, we even did not know, you know, what will be the vaccines, what will be the production, what will be the pricing. But we have been trying to walk ahead of the curve. We have been trying to foresee what the issues will be. We've been trying to foresee what the obstacles are going to be. And right at the beginning, we had determined that it is going to be the IPRs of these vaccines as and when they come, as and when they are brought into the market for use. And that is why we took this issue right at the beginning. I'm happy that it is the determined effort of the Indian leadership and of the Indian negotiators, both at WTO as also at bilateral level, that we are starting to see positive movement as far as this issue is concerned.
Thank you, Diplomat Sajjan Hart, for your deep insight into a very, very complex issue. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, Manas.
This is All India Radio giving you the world news.
In China, a total of 21 people were confirmed dead on Sunday due to extreme weather during a 100-kilometer cross-country mountain race held in Gansu province. Of all 172 race participants, 151 were confirmed safe, with 8 sent to the hospital but in stable condition, as reported by state media. It said sudden change in weather patterns resulted in hailstorm, freezing rain and gale winds during the race, which had started on Saturday in the Yellow River Stone Forest tourist site in Jingtai County of northwest China's Gansu province. In Iran, Parliament Speaker Mohammad Baqir Kalibaf on Sunday said that the International Atomic Energy Agency now cannot have access to the records from cameras monitoring Iran's nuclear activities. According to Iranian state TV, Mr. Kalibaf has said that from May 22nd, with the end of the 3-month agreement, the agency will no longer have access to data collected by cameras inside the nuclear facilities agreed under the agreement.
In Italy, at least 13 people died and 3 persons were seriously injured when a cable car fell on a mountain near Lake Maggiore on Sunday. Strisa's mayor, Marcello Severino, said the accident occurred as the cable car was traveling up the mountain in Alps, with the cabin dropping some 20 meters and rolling several times down the steep slopes before it was stopped by trees. The Asian Cricket Council ACC on Sunday decided to postpone the Asia Cup 2021 as no practical window is available to hold the tournament this year amid corona pandemic. The executive board said in face of the risks and restrictions posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, it had made the difficult decision to postpone the Asia Cup 2020 to 21. Since then, the ACC has been working with its participants and stakeholders to try and ensure that the event is held in the year. However, on account of a packed future tour program, the cricket body has concluded that there is no practical window in the year when all the teams would be available to participate. The board said it would only be feasible for this edition of the tournament to be held in 2023, as there is already an Asia Cup in 2022. In cricket, Bangladesh defeated Sri Lanka by 33 runs in the first ODI in Dhaka. Bangladesh won the toss and elected to bat. The hosts set a winning target of 258 runs for Sri Lankan team. Mishpukur Rahim of Bangladesh smashed 84 runs and Dhananjaya De Silva took 3 wickets for Sri Lanka. In reply, Sri Lanka were bowled out for 224 runs in 48.1 overs. This was the first match of the 3-match ODI series between both sides.
The Biden administration is allowing eligible Haitian nationals residing in the United States to apply for a new 8-month designation for temporary protective status. It has reversed a Trump administration effort that had sought to end the special consideration. Homeland Security Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas in a statement cited security concerns, social unrest, an increase in human rights abuses, crippling poverty and other problems in Haiti for the decision. He said after careful consideration, U.S. is determined that it must do what it can to support Haitian nationals in the U.S. until conditions in Haiti improve so that they may return safely home.
Bangladesh has said there is no change in their stand on Israel. Foreign Minister of Bangladesh, Dr. A.K. Abdul Momen, on Sunday said that the country has neither changed its diplomatic position towards Israel nor recognized it. He was responding to the queries regarding the changes in the passport format issued in Bangladesh. Earlier, the Bangladesh passport carried the word valid for travelling except Israel, which has been removed in the new format issued by the government.
On the occasion of World Turtle Day on Sunday, India's Environment Ministry has said that turtles play a vital role in maintaining a healthy and balanced ecosystem. The ministry said World Turtle Day is the day to remind us about our responsibilities to protect turtles. It said the day draws attention to the measures that should be taken for helping turtles to survive without human interference. A quick look at the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi reviews preparedness of states and central agencies to tackle Cyclone Yas. Calls for timely evacuation of people from high-risk areas. Cyclone Yas likely to intensify into very severe cyclonic storm, expected to cross Odisha and West Bengal coasts on Wednesday. Armed forces commence preparations to mitigate impact of cyclone in Kolkata, Bhubaneswar and Port Blair. India, South Africa and 60 other countries moved 3-year intellectual property rights waiver for COVID-19 related medical products at WTO. Number of COVID patients discharged outnumbers new cases in India for the 10th consecutive day. And in cricket, Asia Cup 2021 tournament postponed due to packed schedule. India is celebrating the 151st birth anniversary of Mahatma Gandhi. Before we end, let's listen to his favorite bhajan, Vaishnavajan, by artists from Norway. And with that, we end this bulletin. We'll be back at the same time tomorrow with the next edition of World News.
News.